Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar with Dovetail. My name is Emily. I'm the Senior Campaign Lead here at Birchal. And just before I introduce you to Andrea, Ignacio, and David, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that I am coming to you from today. So Birchal is based on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and we pay our respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. So today I'm joined by the team from Dovetail, and Birchal is working with them on their upcoming crowdsource funding offer. A few of you might be a little bit unfamiliar with what crowdsource funding is or CSF, or you might even know it as equity crowdfunding. But it's a relatively new form of fundraising in Australia that allows small startups or businesses to raise capital from a large number of smaller or retail investors, as well as wholesale and sophisticated investors through an online platform such as Birchal. So instead of seeking funding from traditional sources such as banks or venture capitalists, companies can turn to the general public, and that's often their communities, to raise money in exchange for equity in their business. Birchal Financial Services will be the licensed intermediary for the offer. And I do want to remind everybody who is here today that the information and discussion in this webinar is for informational purposes only and should not be considered as advice or a recommendation to invest. So please do your own research and always consider the general CSF risk warning and offer document before investing. If you do need any more information, please head over to birchal.com or shoot us through an email at support@birchal.com. Now, how today's session is going to run, I'll hand over to David and Andrea in just a moment, who will take us through a great presentation all about Dovetail, where they've come from, and what they're looking to achieve with this capital raise. We'll then switch to a Q&A session. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a little Q&A bubble. If you do have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to pop them in that Q&A bubble and we will get to them as soon as we can after the presentation. Hopefully we'll get through all of your questions today. But if we don't get through to all of them, you are welcome to reach out to the team at Dovetail to answer your questions, or reach out to Birchal to answer your questions too. And finally, we will be recording today's session. So if you do need to jump off early, or you'd like to send it to somebody who you think might be interested in investing in Dovetail, a recording will be sent around. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to the team at Dovetail.
Thank you very much, Emily, for your introduction, and thank you for having us today. So we'll be walking you through the highlights of our project and what we're trying to do within Dovetail. I have with me Andrea, that is working within our operations team, and also I have Ignacio, that is our CTO, and is actually making the effort to connect from Europe right now. So really late or early, for him right now. But he will be there to answer if you have any specific technical question that where you would like to hear from him. So Dovetail Electric Aviation, who we are and what we do. So first of all, just a little bit of an overview about our company, right? And I would say even a little bit about my own journey. My name is David. I'm the CEO and founder of Dovetail Electric Aviation. I'm an aerospace engineer by background, originally from Spain, but also an Australian citizen. And I've been working in the industry all my life, right? Initially, as part of or working for the large OEMs, Boeing, Airbus, developing new commercial aircraft. And in the last 10, 15 years, as an executive of different aerospace technology companies, both in Europe and also here in Australia. And a few years ago, I realized that there's a big shift in the making with the introduction of electrification, and it's one of these opportunities in a lifetime to see an industry like aerospace and the aviation industry changing radically, right? I would say that the last change that the industry saw, of this magnitude probably was the introduction of the jet engine, right, in the 50s or in the 60s, right? So this is, I guess, once again, literally once in a lifetime, once in a generation opportunity to be part of a shift that, on the other hand, is needed, is required, because we have the responsibility for those of us who have been working in the industry for a while to really make aviation truly sustainable. And that was basically the starting point of Dovetail, right? The original idea was to decarbonize aviation, and that's the journey that we started. So look, we're a group of people that with significant experience in the industry, passionate individuals that we've seen an opportunity to do something different. And we started Dovetail a few years ago after an initial intention to even develop a brand new aircraft that I'll talk about that a little bit later. But then we shifted into the modification of existing aircraft, right? We did this in Australia, among other things, because Australia is a very good introductory market to do that, right? Australia has the third largest fleet of small aircraft in the world, and it relies on a small passenger and commercial aircraft, right? And from that point of view, it's a good market, and it has a need to decarbonize this type of aviation. Dovetail started, as I said, in Australia a few years ago, but we have also a subsidiary in Spain where we want to access the European market, right? And the idea is that we'll have dual presence in both parts of the world and also in the future, in other continents like the US when we scale up and go bigger. We are right now raising capital, and the Birchal offer is part of the process. We raised $3.2 million US last year. That is basically, or that was the first half of our seed round. We're now in the second half of that seed round, in the process of raising around $4 million give and take. And what we're doing is offering retail investors the opportunity to benefit from the same terms as much larger investors that also I will mention later on. So we would like to have people that share the same vision about how regional aviation would look like in the future, and I would love to have you on board so that you also give us feedback and help us in this journey. So one of the questions is electric aviation, whether it's possible and why now, right? And I think that there are a number of trends that are supporting this decision to move forward in the electrification of aviation. First, we're seeing a significant trend booming demand in electrification, right? So that is actually something that we've seen, particularly in Australia, in the last 5 years, with the number of electric vehicles multiplied by a factor of 10. Right, that is again, bringing this technology, say, to the masses, right? This is just for electric vehicles, and what we're seeing is that is going to come, that is starting to come to aviation, and there's a significant drive to turn aviation into zero emissions by 2050, and we need to put in place plans to make that happen, right? And actually, we believe that regional small aircraft probably are the first and the best way to start. We see that regulation is coming, right? And we're seeing how in some parts of the world, very short flights with conventional aircraft are starting to be banned, right? And France is an example where flights, I think, is under 300 kilometers. Basically are not allowed if you have an alternative, a ground alternative. It may take some time for Australia to see that, but this will be a common trend that I will see in other parts of the world, and potentially at some point in time in Australia. And we think it's the time also because we're seeing those things that push the market in the industry in that direction, and yet the competition is low. And there are a number of reasons for that, but this is a point in time when you see a new technology, a new industry moving forward and starting to grow. And if you wait a little bit longer, the competitive landscape may be a little bit too crowded. While right now we think is perfect timing for this in terms of the imbalance of low competition, but also I guess realistic technology that can be applied to the market. One of the things that probably differentiate us is our approach to start with retrofits. I mentioned before that the development of a brand new aircraft was also part of our plan. And actually, the precursor of Dovetail was a previous startup that I founded called Dante Aeronautical that started with the idea of developing a brand new aircraft, right? But we started working with small operators, and in particular with Sydney Shipments, that is our launch customer here in Australia. And we realized that there was a significant opportunity to go electric with conversions, with the retrofit of existing aircraft. And this is, we believe that this was a better way to get this started, simply because developing a brand new aircraft from scratch, even a small aircraft in the categories that we're operating, can take literally a decade or longer and billions of dollars, right? And sometimes that could be even an understatement. So we believe that there's a better way by modifying existing aircraft, right? And actually, that's something that can be done in one order of magnitude less budget than developing a brand new aircraft and a set of the time. So that's why we decided to focus initially, at least, on the conversion of existing aircraft. What we do and what we're doing right now is developing what we call modular technology with proprietary commonality. And what that means is that we're focusing on the disruptive part of the technology, particularly the propulsion system. And we're developing different technology building blocks, whether fully in-house or with the support of external partners, to replace the conventional propulsion system, basically the turboprop, the turbine that burns fuel, and that in this case moves a propeller. So we've identified 5 key building blocks that we're working on and that we're bringing to market. So the first one is the actual propulsion system. We call it Dove Power, with components sourced from partners, but also developed in-house, and that gives us control to a key part of the technology that is propulsion, right? And again, is part of that is proprietary of Dovetail. Another key example is our battery system. We call it DovePack, that is fully developed in-house, and it's an interesting case because lately, and I'll mention that later, is even attracting the interest of third parties, other developers that are seeing that the battery technology that we're developing exclusively or specifically for aviation can make sense for other applications, and actually could become a secondary revenue stream. Other elements complementing that are the use of smart energy management systems with the help of artificial intelligence and machine learning. Definitely the introduction of hydrogen, right? And we will talk about that later in the work that we've done in the next slide. And also improved aerodynamics when we combine the new propulsion system, the new components with an existing airframe. But what is key again is that we're using existing airframes, legacy aircraft, so that we can speed up the process to market and the certification process. When you develop an aircraft from scratch, you need to go through many different hurdles, and you need to demonstrate a number of things. The dynamics of the aircraft. So all of those things we're bypassing by adapting an existing aircraft or by adapting a propulsion system to an existing aircraft. And again, that's what accelerates and it speeds up the process, and enables us to seize a significant part of the market much faster than other people that are developing models from scratch. This is just 2 key examples of what we're doing. On the right, you see I mentioned DovePack, and that is our proprietary battery technology. And we're developing a module that can be integrated in a bigger pack that will provide energy to our first converted aircraft. We are, as far as we know, the first company that is developed a modular battery technology with immersion cooling for aviation that is being used for the automotive sector more often in the last few years. But as far as we know, we're the first ones that are introducing this to enhance or to improve the cooling of the battery that is critical, obviously, for better performance. And as I said, we're starting to offer that to, and we've signed already agreements with customers that are interested in buying this technology. And on the left, we can see I was going to say the first, but it's actually our second prototype integrating hydrogen fuel cells. The first one was actually run earlier this year in Victoria, in La Trobe Regional Airport, 2 hours east of Melbourne. And what you see here, and actually that was the first hydrogen propulsion system ever tested in Australia for aviation. And yeah, what you see here is an enhanced and upgraded version of that technology that we tested in Spain in July, because yeah, we managed to get a grant from the government there. So and actually you can see videos of this system running in the internet, because we organized an open day. And yeah, we have basically a demonstration of all the technology, in which case yeah, we're integrating yeah, all the different components, including hydrogen, right? So yeah, that is positioned us to basically be in hydrogen as quickly as that is realistically possible, faster than other parties. Now, how all of this works? So yeah, what we do is, as I mentioned before, we take an existing airframe. So our typical customer is an operator of one of these aircraft. And yeah, when the time comes to go through what is called an overhaul, that is yeah, significant maintenance operation that needs to be taken or needs to be done every 3,600 hours, we tell them, look, rather than spending $500,000 US, that is literally what it costs to overhaul that engine, we said, let's go electric. So you give us your airframe, we strip it out of the legacy systems, we get rid of the electric motor, and sorry, of the combustion engine, and actually you can even sell that and yeah, generate some additional revenue. And we put in place our electric propulsion system, our electric motor, power electronics, battery systems, and PDU, power distribution unit, and in the future also a hydrogen fuel cell, so that yeah, we can basically turn into a fully electric zero emissions aircraft, a legacy platform that until that point in time has been running not very efficiently and definitely generating a lot of emissions. So we integrate all those different components. We do all the testing. Yeah, we integrate also our smart energy management system. And basically at the end of the process, it will be just a few weeks where we give that aircraft back to the operator so that they can start using it, fully commercially, but now in a much more efficient mode, right? And yeah, that's the approach that we're following. And yeah, we will turn into something that is more efficient, again, zero emissions, and even quieter. That will be another benefit, another significant advantage of electrification. We've identified a significant, massive market opportunity there, close to or around 20,000 aircraft in this segment. We're talking about small passenger aircraft that have been flying in some cases for decades, that yeah, most of the cases are still operational, and that is basically the kind of market that we can seize, right? And yeah, we've valued that in $80 billion US. So that is the total market that yeah, will in the long term will be able to materialize. We're starting though with a fraction of that market. The aircraft in these categories that or in this category that are flying much shorter distances. So we're talking about yeah, very short flights, 100 kilometers less. And in Australia and New Zealand alone, 20% of the fleet is dedicated to these short flights. So, and globally, we're talking about an equivalent market of $10 billion. And this is something that we can do today with the technology that we're developing today. As soon as we have it in the market in a couple of years' time, yeah, we'll be able to yeah, to generate or to seize that significant market volume. And this is driven, among other things, by the efficiencies, significant efficiencies that electrification are going to bring. I guess that going zero emissions is a significant driver, and it's good enough as a reason, as a motivation to go electric. But yeah, in the end, airlines are driven by economic factors, and until we see regulation probably pushing in that regard, there will be a probably more relevant or more immediate economic driver to go electric, and it's the fact that yeah, electrification can reduce significantly operating costs up to 40%, and that's because of the the lower cost of energy. Electricity is way cheaper than fuel, but also because of the lower cost of maintenance, and that's the other key aspect of electrification. And there are studies, and one in particular by NASA in the US, that indicate that if you manage to reduce operating costs by 40%, the number of economically viable routes will be multiplied by 10. So that's basically an order of magnitude in terms of growth, and that's what we're going to see in the next few years. And that's why we believe electrification is going to drive the revitalization of regional aviation, because it won't be only about zero emissions, that, as I said, is big enough reason, but the economics of electrification will enable operators to multiply, to grow by a factor of 10, because there will be a number of routes that will be viable. In a typical case is, for instance, in Australia. If you look at the regional operators, for instance, flying in New South Wales, the typical flight connects Sydney with a small city or mid-sized town, right? Dabo, Wagga, places like that. But they follow all hub and spoke approach. So basically connecting a big city with smaller cities. Electrification will make economically viable connecting those smaller cities in between them, right? And basically, again, multiplying the number of viable routes and the size of the market. Okay, so well, I was mentioning that we'll start that with the very short routes, and then we'll extend that to longer routes, and that's where hydrogen will play a significant role. But the number of aircraft that will be in position of retrofitting, we quantified in close to 20,000 aircraft. But what we've done is we've defined a roadmap with the best sellers in that collective or in that group of aircraft, right? These are the 6 aircraft so far that we have put in our roadmap, but there are others that we're analyzing, we're studying. And the ones that you see on the left, all of them have in common that they mount the same conventional engine, the Pratt & Whitney PT6. And that is one also fundamental part of our strategy. So what we're doing is, look, we're picking the best sellers in those categories, and we're developing a propulsion system that is, again, a replacement to the bestseller turbine engine in the world. And that is mounted in the Cessna Caravan, the best single engine or the bestseller, the most popular single engine in this category in the world, followed by the Beechcraft King Air, that is the best seller, the most popular twin engine in that category in the world, and then the others like the Twin Otter and the C212. So with all of that, we're talking about many thousands of aircraft that will be able to retrofit. In some cases, we're the only company in the world that are doing that we know, like, for instance, the King Air. And so far the very first one that will bring a battery powered Caravan also to the market, right? And then we'll connect with bigger aircraft like the Saab 340. We have in Australia the largest operator in the world of this aircraft. That happens also to be our investor, Rex Airlines, and that have a strong interest in retrofitting, in modifying that aircraft. But that will require a larger electric propulsion system that will come next. And I mentioned before that at the outset, or when we started working on this project and the precursor of Dovetail, we started planning for a brand new development, and that we call the DAX 19. So that's an aircraft, a product that will come farther down the line. And actually, we believe that this is even the right approach to launch a brand new product to the market, because in the next few years, what we're going to do is, apart from building a business around this technology, we're going to learn a lot. We're going to develop technology, and we're going to understand better how that technology can be applied to the regional aviation market, and also from a commercial point of view, we'll understand better the potential, the upsides and the downsides of going electric. So, and that way we'll be much better positioned to launch a brand new aircraft that, again, we're talking about a multi-billion-dollar project, after this experience. And again, build a business around it, because we're talking about only with retrofits being able to generate hundreds of millions of dollars in revenues every year. Just a little bit about the things that will happen in the next few years and that have happened to date. I mentioned a couple of tests that we did earlier this year. Initially focused on hydrogen, but what is important here is that whether hydrogen or battery powered, the propulsion system is the same. So the electric motor is the same, the power electronics are the same. And those are the things that some of the components that we've been testing earlier this year, right? Have helped us to progress with the development of the propulsion system, but also in this case, even with batteries, because batteries and hydrogen will tend to work together too. We're planning for our first flight next year. That will be the first flight of an electric platform or electric aircraft, even if it's a retrofit, ever developed in Australia. It will be powered only with batteries because what we're doing is setting up or paving the way for certification so that we can have a product in the market in 2026. And we're going with batteries first because the regulatory landscape is much clearer, is defined well enough to meet that objective in 2026, while hydrogen is going to take longer. We're still working on hydrogen, and that will happen, but farther down the line or actual flights and actual certification will take a little bit longer. We're planning for 2026 for the first platforms running on hydrogen. They will be experimental platforms, but they will help us also to expand the market. As I said, first flight next year, first product in 2026. By then, we'll be raising a Series A to go industrial. And our plan is to set up 2 conversion centers, one in Australia to serve the Australian Pacific region, and another one in Spain, well, most probably will be in Spain, to cover the European market. And with that approach, with that strategy, we'll be able to cover a significant part of the market. Farther down the line, we're planning to scale up and grow into other continents, in particular the US. As I said, 2026, first commercial product in the market, 27 and 28, based on regulation, we'll try to get our first hydrogen product. And we'll be looking at other platforms in the next few years. And actually, we're even looking at smaller aircraft that different parties are approaching us, interested in retrofitting. And as I said, by the end of the decade, our plan is to launch the development of a brand new aircraft that by then will turn Dovetail into a multi-billion-dollar company. Traction so far to date, most relevant highlights, big customers in 2022 that jump on board with Dovetail. Monte is a leasing company, the most relevant leasing company in the world of a small aircraft, and that have created a division specifically dedicated to green aviation. We brought also first investors with interesting names in the aviation industry, like Rex Airlines here, but in Europe, in Spain, we have two airlines, Volotea and Arnostrom, regional airlines with significant reach in the continent, and they became also investors in 2022. We've won grants, significant grants, CRCP grant here in Australia, $3 million, IFEX in Spain, the grant that we used to run our hydrogen prototype earlier this year, 800,000 euros, so that's almost like $1 million US. And there have been other significant events like our recognition by different awards. In Australia, we've been awarded the Startup of the Year last year by Australian Aviation. Very recently, the Innovation of the Year by the same Australian Aviation, KPMG Top 5 Tech Innovators in Australia, and other accolades. But also, something particularly relevant for this race. We also signed an investment agreement late last year with Invest Victoria. That's the reason why we relocated to Victoria. We were initially a Sydney company, but because of that significant financial support, we moved the company to Melbourne last year. But earlier this year, we've secured Inafi Turri, that is a leading aerospace company in Europe, a lead strategic investor and partner, and we're working with them. And yeah, we have also a follower investor doing due diligence. And look, we keep adding to our pipeline more customers. I'll mention that later. But yeah, I'm flying actually tonight to Norway, where I will be speaking in an electric aviation conference. Norway is a particular place where they're driving the introduction, the adoption of electric aviation. And actually, we will be signing the next few days another customer, another Norwegian operator that is adding to our pipeline. Talking about our team, yeah, we have, I think we have a solid team of board directors and advisors. So starting with Aaron Shaw, the managing director of Sydney Seaplanes, that is also our launch customer and co-founder. Ron coming from Rex. Roy Gansarski used to be the CEO of the magniX, that is another electric aviation company in the US, and chairman of Eviation, that yeah, is one of the companies in this case developing a brand new electric aircraft from scratch in the US, right? So he's a guy that and actually comes from Boeing too. So yeah, someone with a breadth of experience that is hard to find, in both commercial aviation and electric aviation. We have other people like Susanna, renewable energy executive and reputed personality in Europe, particularly in this space. Fermin is the managing director of the MRO division of Aeronostrom, and also Michelle, that has been running until recently the largest electric vehicle company here in Australia. From an operational point of view, we're still, a growing team, around 20 people with a lot of young talent, but also people with a lot of experience, like Ignacio, that is with us here today, our CTO with a lot of experience with Airbus, developing electric aircraft within Airbus, but also with other startups, right? And yeah, the interesting bit is that among a number of us, we have I guess I would say decades of experience working for the large OEMs, right? Airbus, Boeing, Rolls-Royce, and also with significant experience on support functions. One of the uses of funds of this offer and the next steps in terms of raising capital actually is going to be to grow the team, so that we can accomplish the challenges and the goals, the milestones that we have set up for ourselves. Just a quick note, and even if I've mentioned this indirectly, our go-to-market, right? I mentioned that there are around 20,000 aircraft in this category, small passenger aircraft in the world that are subject to retrofitting. But there's a fraction of that is definitely not negligible. We're talking about 20%, $10 billion, that right now operate very short missions, right? And that is our entry point. That is we call it our niche market that is not so niche in terms of very short flights right now operated by many companies in the world. And we're talking in particular about leisure flights, tourism flights like scenic flights like Sydney Seaplanes, for instance, that's here in Sydney, touring people around the harbor. But we're talking also about skydiving, and we have more and more interest about the skydiving operators, and we're actually having a workshop with the skydiving operators on Thursday in Norway, where we believe that we're going to see a number of customers coming in. And the third one, within this category, we would call it island hopping. That is basically connections with islands that are nearby, right? So only with that we can seize a significant part of that market, the $10 billion that I mentioned before, with the technology that we're developing today. And that represents a real opportunity that we'll be able to build a business around in the next few years. Then there are other secondary revenue opportunities, as I mentioned before, with a number of parties interested in our battery technology. And then from then on, we'll move into longer ranges with the introduction of hydrogen, and that's where definitely we'll see a massive growth and revolution in the regional aviation market, where we'll be able to see typical regional operators flying these 300, 400, 500 kilometer flights with hydrogen. That will happen in the next few years. just a quick snapshot about our pipeline. So we're talking about $160 million US, more than 70 conversions. And this time, these figures are growing. As I mentioned before, we'll be announcing very soon another customer in Europe, with more coming this way. And these represent I would say the type of or the tip of the iceberg, because we'll see this growing phenomenally in the next few years. I mentioned about third parties interested in some of our building blocks. Chrysalis is an eVTOL company that have become the first customer of our battery systems, and this was an announcement that we did last July at the Farnborough Air Show near London. That is one of the two largest air shows in the world, right? And this is an example. We're in discussions with 2 additional parties that may become also customers of our battery technology. So just to finish, as mentioned, one of our key milestones and uses of those funds will be the first flight that were planned for 2025, with the certification expected in 2 years from now. And this is part of the second tranche of our seed round. We're offering the same terms and conditions to our retail investors as the ones that largest investors like Aceturri that I mentioned before are benefiting from. And from our point of view, we believe that is exceptional opportunity for retail investors to take advantage of that upside, right? We are targeting a significant event, that first flight in 2025 next year. And that will become, I think, a relevant event from a valuation point of view, because what we consider is that the company valuation will increase significantly by then after that first flight, and having the industrial plan and the industrialization of our first product in sight. So this is us so far. And with that, what would love to hear is from you in terms of any questions that you may have, and that any of us would be delighted and more than pleased to answer.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, team. If you could exit out of the presentation so we can see your beautiful faces, that would be absolutely amazing.
Just, okay. Let me see, how do I do this? Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So looking forward to when you do launch your offer, are you looking at offering any investor rewards for people who do invest?
Yes. So that's a good question, and I mentioned before that we're offering same terms as larger investors, but we're offering even something additional for investors of this Birchal offer. We're offering warrants for people reaching a threshold that we fix in $25,000, and what that means is that you will have the right to buy the same number of shares up to the end of 2025 at the same price. I mentioned before that we're planning that first flight by mid next year, and that would bump our valuation significant, right? So I guess that this is a good opportunity, a very interesting option to benefit from the upside, and basically be able to buy the same number of shares, but at the same valuation, and definitely what we expect is that it will be a lower valuation or lower price compared to what that valuation will be by the end of next year. So again, a significant opportunity that we're offering to retail investors here.
Perfect. So are you relying on any of your sales prospects for growth plans, and what happens if they do pull out?
Look, we are constantly looking for additional customers, right? What we're seeing is that there is more and more interest coming in. So as always, some of those sales may not materialize, but we're talking about thousands, literally thousands of aircraft that need to be retrofitted, right? And what we're doing is working tirelessly to attract new parties. As I mentioned before, tomorrow I'll be in Norway. Thursday we'll be having this workshop with up to 15 operators, small operators in Norway, and that we're planning to secure a number of additional offers, right? Orders. So that is going to be a constant commercial effort that we're going to be making, right? So as always, again, in a pipeline like that, yeah, there will be offers that may not eventuate, but yeah, that pipeline is meant to grow, bigger significantly, and hopefully help us to achieve the revenue targets that we've set up for ourselves.
Great, thank you. So can you tell me about any competitors in this space and what sets you apart from those competitors?
Yep. So look, first, there's a handful of companies trying to do something similar in the world, right? Yeah, and one of the reasons probably is because this segment has attracted a lot of investment and probably a lot of hype around what we call flying taxes, eVTOL, and that is a completely new segment that still needs to be proven, right? While we focused on part of the industry, part of the market that exists, and it just needs to be revitalized, right? But well, there's still a handful of players out there. So in the US, there are a couple of companies. One is Ampere, but these guys are developing hybrid systems, and we believe that we need to be zero emissions from the outset, right? It's like they're developing the Prius, and we're developing the Tesla, right? Of this segment, right? The issue with electrification in aviation is that it takes longer, it takes more investment and more time to get certified, and we believe that that effort requires that we go electric from the outset, right? And actually, the technology is going to be more complex and less reliable if you combine a combustion engine with an electric motor, right? One of the big benefits of going electric is the robustness, the reliability of an electric machine, right? Compared to a combustion engine. That's why, we believe that over time, it will be, definitely for short missions, it will be way, way superior. And if we're talking about longer flights, hydrogen will replace a typical combustion engine, right? So that would be one of the contenders or one of the competitors, right? And then there are a couple of companies. Well, actually, there were a couple of larger companies or larger startups that were focusing only on hydrogen. One of them actually, got into administration, basically, got out of business, right? Simply because if you want to bring, if you rely only on hydrogen, it's going to take longer. It's going to take years, right? And what we're doing is we're generating a revenue stream as early as 2026 for a market that exists, right? That's another aspect, right? So again, probably the fundamental points there is that we're going full electric from the outset, zero emissions completely. And second, we're starting first with the most robust and the most mature part of the technology, only batteries, because that's where we can generate revenues on the shorter term.
Great. Do you expect any government regulations to impact your company?
If anything, positively, right? I mentioned this ban in France, and we're hearing that other European countries can follow suit. So in that case, actually what will happen is that conventional aircraft may be banned or may be penalized, may be taxed, to keep operating, while in our case will be the opposite. Actually, when we do our business and our economic analysis, we also include the price of carbon credits. That is actually, something that is an income, for the operator of electric aircraft, and that is a reality. That is happening, and in Australia, you can monetize your carbon credits, right? There's still a relatively low price, but that is going to increase, right? So again, regulation, if anything, is going to help us, and it will make our business case even more powerful or more interesting.
Thank you. Do you have a target cost for the retrofit, and how does it compare to the cost of an engine overhaul?
Yes. So the cost of a retrofit for our typical aircraft, is between it's around $1.5 million US, right? And that is like is higher than the overhaul of a conventional engine, but it's not 10 times, right? And yeah, we're talking about yeah, a conventional engine, a PT6, the Pratt and Whitney conventional engine that we're replacing right now. Yeah, we're hearing some operators that are paying, you know, $600,000 US or more to overhaul that, right? So yeah, it could be yeah, maybe twice yeah, the price of going electric. But because of the significant benefits of electrification, economic benefits of electrification, we have you know, economic analysis that indicate with real use cases that indicate that you can amortize, you can recover the investment in less than 3 years.
Great, thank you. So which markets are you choosing to expand into in the nearest future, and why have you chosen those markets over others?
Yes. So our starting point is Australia and Europe, because, well, Australia, as mentioned before, yeah, you know, one of the largest markets in the world, and for us easy to access. Europe because yeah, they're driving, they're leading the decarbonization of aviation. There's a lot of investment and a lot of support, and even I guess policy you know, initiatives moving in that direction, right? So that would be part of the first stage in this plan. For the second stage, yeah, two potential areas, you know, that could be potentially extended to three. One is the US market. The US will go always a little bit behind. There will be a little bit of a laggard, you know, compared to yeah, some of these you know, sustainability policies, but it's a large market, right? So we're talking about many aircraft there, right? So even if the percentage will be lower than in Australia or Europe, yeah, we think that there will be a significant market. We're in discussions with industrial partners, potential industrial partners that will help us to set up conversion centers, industrial conversion centers there, right? So we'll have, I mean, it will depend on how things go. We could actually set up our next conversion center in the US just on our own, but yeah, we will explore also partnerships so that yeah, we can accelerate that process. In another yeah, part of the world where yeah, we're you know, in discussions with potential interested partners is Middle East.
Great, thank you. Are you considering making further products once you get the fleet in the air?
I mean, we've mentioned our roadmap. Our roadmap includes a number of aircraft. It's true that the first products will share the same or share right now the same conventional engine, and from a point of view, yeah, our propulsion system could be adaptable to all those platforms without any major difference. Yes, I mean, I would say that yeah, right now we're looking at other options, and I mentioned again, yeah, our activities in Scandinavia and Norway. Yeah, we're actually discussing with some of these operators, looking at different models, right? Different aircraft, right? Bigger or smaller, actually, right? So we have, I guess, you know, a prospective or tentative wider pipeline of products that we may retrofit. So obviously we'll be monitoring closely yeah, the market. The fact that yeah, now we're talking to customers and dealing with a number of parties is giving us a lot of information in terms of yeah, what the market may be demanding in the future. So yes, the answer to that question is yes. Yeah, with a number of candidates that yeah, will be probably closing and fixing in the next few months and years.
So thank you. Do you expect to have any issues around your IP or defensibility of your product?
Look, there are a number of ways to defend our IP. Yeah, we want to find the right solution based on the case, right? So for instance, we're not jumping straight away on patenting and, you know, many things simply because trade secrets tend to be more efficient. Actually, when you patent things, you know, you make them public, right? Yeah, there will be some specific you know, features that yeah, we're planning in patenting, particularly when we put when we put products in the market, right? So the moment that we start yeah, selling you know, high numbers of our battery systems, yeah, you know, yeah, we may risk people, you know, opening them and trying to figure out what is in there. So those will be the specific features that we're going to be patenting. But there's also a very important part of our IP strategy, and that is something called STC, Supplemental Type Certificate, and is the modification of the aircraft with all these new systems needs to be approved by regulators, and what they give you is a stamp of approval with that supplemental type certificate, and that's what allows you to actually operate commercially that modification. You can copycat what we've done. If you don't have that STC, you won't be able to sell it. You won't be able to offer that commercially. So that is a significant part of our strategy. And in a way, is sometimes it could be even more efficient way to protect our technology than patents. But again, in some specific cases, we're patenting also some of the features that we're developing.
Great. So what infrastructure is required for charging the batteries, and how long will it take to charge the batteries of an e-caravan?
Okay, so the infrastructure is not too different from a charger for an electric vehicle, right? Actually, I would say that some of the superchargers that you can see out there for electric cars, will be of similar power than the chargers that will install into our customers' facilities. We rather partner up with developers of chargers rather than doing that ourselves, because we need to focus on what we believe is our core offering, our core value proposition. That's something that, again, is not different from the network of chargers that is being deployed, I would say, all across the world, right? In terms of time of charging, what we're our requirement and our technology is developed so that we can charge our batteries in 1.5 times the flight time. So in other words, if the aircraft is being used for a 20-minute flight, we'll be able to charge it in 30 minutes. And again, this is part of the discussions that we're having with operators, and many of them consider that perfectly compatible with their operational needs, right? In some cases, we're exploring the possibility of having swappable batteries, batteries that can be swapped, can be replaced, on the spot. But so far, what we're hearing is that, the charging time, can be acceptable.
Thank you. And how can passengers and crew of these aircrafts ensure that they are safe?
Look, I guess that we need to rely and on regulators in Australia, CASA, and Europe, EASA, in the US FAA. And the thing is, aviation is one of the most regulated sectors, in the world, at least from this point of view, right? And aviation is really safe for because of all the measures that have been put in place, all these different regulatory bodies, and all the different standards and norms that and requirements that need to be met, right? So I guess that for us as a company, the challenge, if anything, is going to be to get that approval from the regulator, right? But when that happens, when that takes place, I guess that we as passengers and as passengers, we can feel really confident that the technology will be safe, right? I would say that look, aviation is and aircraft and air transport is one of the most safe, or one of the safest means of transport in the world, right? We're not going to change that. I mean, regulators won't allow us to change that. They will continue applying the same rules, as before, without any doubt.
Great, good to know. And if there are issues around getting that approval through for the regulations, could that jeopardize the future of the company?
Look, that is one of the risks in terms of understanding how long it's going to take, right? But that is the reason why we're focusing initially on a battery-only version, right, of our product, right? There's a precedent. It's just a small aircraft that can carry 2 people. It's a trainer, to train private pilots. But there's a precedent already in the market flying out there. And that you can actually buy or you can get into, right? Comes from a company in Europe called Strait, right? So and that's why we said, look, hydrogen is great. Hydrogen is the future, but there's a lot of work to be done there, right? And there's a lot of uncertainty in terms of how long it's going to take certification. We plan accordingly, and we have our estimates, but yeah, there's way more uncertainty. While batteries is something that yeah, definitely there's more certainty, and the path to certification is clearer than hydrogen. That's the reason why we're focusing on that. I mean, as always, yeah, we're developing new technology. So yeah, we don't have a crystal ball, yeah, to tell you exactly which day in 2026 we'll be able to get that certification approval, right? But yeah, we feel confident that what we are doing, what we're proposing, what we're targeting is more than doable. Because again, we're relying on a path that, at least from a regulation point of view, has been walked already. And if anything, we're making it a little bit bigger. We're bringing a little bit more complexity and volume and size, but yeah, it's not something that is being done for the first time completely from scratch.
Awesome, thank you. So that concludes all of our questions for today. But if anybody does have any further questions, you can reach out to the Dovetail team via their Birchal profile. I've just popped the link in the chat box so that you can access that. And if you haven't expressed interest already, please do so that you can keep up to date with any announcements. And so you'll be the first to know when the offer does go live, so you can invest when it goes live. So I want to say a huge thank you to the team over at Dovetail. Thank you so much for your time and such a great presentation showing everybody what you've achieved to date and what you're looking to achieve with this raise. And thank you everybody for your time today. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Emily, for having us. And well, thank you, everybody, present. Yeah, we'll be delighted to have you on board as supporters and as investors in the company. And please don't hesitate to contact us directly. Myself, Andrea, Ignacio, talking about any of the different aspects, whether technical, commercial, of what we're doing. Yeah, we'll be more than happy to answer all your questions.
Great. Thank you so much. We'll chat soon.
Thank you.